Hello and welcome back to the Fat Dad Fishing Show. I'm your host, Rich Natoli, back this week to talk a few things. We're going to start off with some winter flounder, but we're also going to talk general spring fishing because 'tis the season for everyone to want to get back on the water. I've had a bunch of people, including my buddy Kevin, sending me texts with the weather forecast for the week, and people are not happy with the blowout in New Jersey or anticipated blowout and the rain coming through. But welcome to spring. It is it's what it is every year. We just got to deal with it. So we're going to jump into all of that. We have Elle from Heaven and Elle Outdoors on tonight, one of the favorite guests that returns to the show from now and then. And we're going to dive into it. Before we do so, before we bring Elle on and dive in first to the controversy that we have and that I and Elle have both been dealing with, all my fault. Uh, Before we get to that, I'm going to hit the hit the sponsors real quick. Great Bay Outfitters on Radio Road in Tuckerton, New Jersey. If you're looking for a kayak, they're definitely the place that you want to look. Look, they have nationwide shipping, by the way. So if you want to order from Paul and from a great outfitter, Great Bay is the place to go. They have Native, they have Old Town, they have Crescent. They've got kayaks on consignment. And one of the best things about the place is you can get on the water and test out the kayaks before you buy them. That is the single best piece of advice that anybody can give if you're thinking about buying a kayak is get on the water with it, give it a real test drive. And Paul and Great Bay Outfitters, they're one of the only places you can do it in this region. A lot of other peoples will tell you about it and they'll say, well, find a friend. Well, friends are great, but friends also have already tricked out kayaks. They have different weight distributions just when you get them on the water, and they don't necessarily float like a brand new kayak. And they don't necessarily feel like a brand new kayak because they're already tricked out for the person that owns them. So check out any kayak that you're interested in at Great Bay. Give them a call ahead of time if there's specific models that you want to test, and they'll have them all lined up for you in the back. So you can go and try them one after the other and find which one is most comfortable for you and which one is the one that's going to fit what you're looking for. We also have Quad State Tune. Kevin Driscoll is the guy that you want to reach out to if you have a Toyota truck. So Tacoma, Tundra, 4Runner, Lexus 460 and 470. They have the engine tunes, which are going to give you more torque, more horsepower. It's going to solve the problem that especially the Gen 3 Tacomas have, where it kind of hunts for the gears when you're on the highway. So if you want to increase the performance on your trucks, reach out to Kevin at 484-633-5975. He'll let you know if it'll work for your specific situation and what you're looking to get out of it. And then you have me for real estate in southeastern Pennsylvania, primarily residential, do some light commercial. And I do want to just take a second. I think I mentioned this before, but again, I had a podcast listener reach out to me. So new client this week from the podcast. I appreciate it. And actually, the person that reached out this week was referred to me by one of the podcast listeners. I really appreciate that. Actually, 85.7% my business last year was directly from referrals. So greatly appreciated. That's what puts food on my table. That's what puts gas in the truck so I can make it down to actually go fishing with all of you in the spring, especially when summer flounder opens, which is what I'm really looking forward to. So with that said, I'm going to bring Elle on screen. Elle, welcome back. It's great to see you.
Hi, guys.
And we need to talk about a controversy because yours truly, I didn't screw up, but something needs an explanation because people just got their knickers in a twist over this thing. And it's got me a little salty today. And I was really salty coming into this until you came on and we were talking backstage. Now I'm in a good mood again. So I'm not going to, I guess this will be a clean, non-explicit episode after all.
I actually, once you explain it, I actually have something to add to that to kind of put down anybody that poo-pooed it. So.
Oh, okay. So let's just, the quick summary is the thumbnail for this episode is an AI generated image drawing of Elle holding a flounder. Okay. And man, it's the title of this is Winter Flounder and Spring Fishing with Elle. But apparently, because it's not a winter flounder, people are going to get on me about it. And they're going to get on you about it. And they're like, just put a picture. Well, we've used a bunch of your pictures. You've been on a lot, and I hate coming back out. So I was like, I'll throw it in AI. And I'll tell you what, Elle, you and I had a conversation about this through, on Facebook.
Mhm.
For an hour, I'm arguing with AI. I mean, I was like calling it names. I was like, like it's real. I'm like, put a damn winter flounder in her hands. And this, no joke, this is what it says. It says, it is capitalized, like it's yelling at me. It is a winter flounder. If you want a different one, upload a picture and I'll use it. So I wrote back, I was like, that is not a winter flounder. That is a summer flounder. And then it writes back and says, you're right. It is a summer flounder. I was like, what the F is going on here? It just admitted it lied in the previous response. And I said, okay, put this picture in. So I upload one of your pictures of winter flounder, and it put a big honking, like 8-pound summer flounder in your hands. I was like, screw it. I just gave up, an hour to do that. I was like, I should have just reached out and asked for a new picture, but people have been getting on you and me.
Yes. So I got a few nice, wrong way winter flounder you're holding and all that.
Yeah.
Now, I have a few things to talk about with that. First is that so AI like scours the internet for everything. So AI will always have certain errors because AI only knows what is told to it. And
Yep.
there will always be people that are wrong on the internet. And so that's why it can't get things straight, like something like that. Now, the other thing is that, like, when I take pictures, I'm usually taking the picture myself. So I put it in selfie mode, which reverses the picture. So,
Yeah.
is it facing the right way? Is it facing the wrong way? And then the other thing about the picture, which is probably the most inaccurate, and one of the first thing I noticed, other than, wow, what picture is that? Because I didn't recognize how I was holding the fish. I don't normally hold fluke that way. And the first thing I noticed, other than the fish, was that ring is on the wrong finger. So I put both my rings that I usually wear on my ring fingers instead of my other fingers. And that was one of the first things that I realized, which is weird, I know. But that's, the girl brain. I was like, wait, what picture is that? So I racked my brain for about an hour, literally scrolling through my own phone, trying to figure out which picture it was. Yeah. And it was an AI picture.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of pictures of you from the previous episodes and, your Facebook, Instagram, and, and I kept saying, so during this hour of arguing with some random data center somewhere, I kept saying, I even asked it, why do you keep putting the wrong fish in her hands? And it said, because I can't, it basically said, because I can't, with the pose that you gave me and the photo that you want me to use, I can't make the fish fit. So I was like, okay, adjust the pose, make her look as realistic as possible because she needs to be recognized. Parentheses, she is a real person. I said, so change the pose and the background as necessary in order to get the winter flounder in her hands. So I'm trying to pull it up here. I think it might have gotten rid of I'm looking for it right now, but
looking at the history.
Elle, it puts a freaking striper in your hands. I was like, what the hell is this now? So now I'm at a striper and I have to start over. I was so pissed.
Oh boy.
I'm trying to scroll back and see if I can find this because I don't think people are going to believe that I was literally arguing with AI.
Can you please share the striper picture? Is that possible at some point?
Yeah. I'm going to, if I can scroll back far enough on this thing. And by the way, it wasn't Chat GPT that I used. I used Google Gemini because I have a professional account for that. I use that a lot for work.
That's the one that I would have used also.
Yeah, I just find it to be a little bit better, a little less scary than Chat GPT. But God, it was the most frustrating thing in the world. It was so guys, we get it. It was the wrong fish. We get it.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that a lot of people were hung up on it facing the wrong way, whatever. But there's actually been summer flounder fluke that's facing the other way. So anytime people ask me, because this is a common question, how do you tell the difference between a fluke and a flounder, or a fluke and a winter flounder, or a summer flounder and winter flounder. Because a lot of people think they're the same thing, obviously. But one of the biggest things that I tell people, other than their cute little lips, is their skin. Winter flounder have like sandpaper for skin, and fluke are obviously much smoother and slippery. So that I feel like is the biggest, like almost instant, other than looking at it, you can tell based on the feel of the fish, whether it's a winter flounder or a summer flounder. Try telling AI that.
Yeah. It doesn't. All right. Let me share my screen here. Let's see. I hate doing this because I have things in Gemini that are professional, and I think I use this also for my business, but let me see what I can show here so you can see some of this stuff. It's absolutely insanity. All right, let me find this.
Now, the other thing, I'll let you in on a little secret. The only picture that I've ever used in the fishing world AI on is actually a picture to put pants on myself. I literally asked AI to put pants on because I was in a bikini.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share the picture. So that's the only time I ever used AI to change a fishing picture was.
Yeah, I don't like doing it personally. It's a little weird too. I mean, there are pictures of me that are AI changing headshots, but I don't typically use them at all. All right, so people could see it on the screen. I don't know if you can read it or not. Actually, let me blow it up a little bit more so people can see and they won't see us.
Never in a million years would I have expected this to be.
I know this is the beginning topic, but for anyone that's interested in AI, this is the crap that you're going to deal with. So I put in there, I said, use the attached photo to create a sketch of the person in the photo holding the fish in the other picture. That's this one at the top. So at the very top. Error. And it gives me
this.
That's
the picture. Okay.
So it does that. So then this is you see that one? So I was like, dude, zoom out so the whole fish is visible. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, that's not even Elle. So I said, can you make this sketch of a woman more closely match the photo so it's more obviously her? I want her to be recognizable. It doesn't do it. So I put a different picture, and then I put a different picture, and it puts you with a porgy.
Wow.
Then it puts you with a summer flounder.
This is creepy.
Yeah. See the winter flounder I'm trying to put in your hands, and this is what it puts, a summer
flounder. I love how there's like New York behind me.
I know. I worry about that later, where I pull that out. And then I say, change the fish to a winter flounder. Why are you not changing the fish in the picture? And it says, I understand your frustration. The previous fish is a winter flounder. And then I go on, and then I say, down here, I was like, you are not doing what I'm asking. Change the fish to match the fish. And finally it says,
oh, there's the striper picture.
Yeah, then it throws the striped bass in there. I don't know how the hell it got a striped bass out of all of this.
That's terrible.
And then it said, and then I said, that is not a winter flounder. It says, actually, it's a summer flounder, after it just told me it was a winter flounder. So anyway, long story short, I know. And look at what it did to you here. Does that even look like you?
Oh my God. No. Yeah, honestly, none of them look like me. Yeah, that one might be the closest.
Which is why I wanted to do a line drawing. So at least, if it wasn't perfect, then you could see.
I gotcha.
Wow. That it was, it was a different thing, and it was obviously AI. So anyway, that's the long story. So people could see the fun of dealing with AI and fishing podcasts and live streams. It's a pain in the ass. So wow. Yeah, so that I wanted to share that because people were very upset that I don't know what a winter flounder looks like, and you don't know, but we both know. It is what it is. So yeah, so we're gonna talk about the winter flounder. 'Tis the season, but before we do, let's get caught up. How have you been doing? It's been a minute since you've been on.
I know. Just really busy with work. Can't wait for June. So hopefully I have a break coming up. So hopefully I'll be able to, I plan on doing it all. I want to do tog fishing, starting Wednesday. I mean, I don't know about the tides, like you said before, blowout tides.
Right.
But when it's blowout like that, that's usually when I go look for arrowheads. So I'll be okay with that either way. But so tog fishing, trout will be opening up soon. So I'll probably try for some trout or freshwater because I'm going to be dog sitting and it's near a lake, so might as
Yep.
well. And then I do plan on trying for some striper and winter flounder. I'll go striper fishing at night. I won't go during the day. And winter flounder, I have a few spots that I wanted to try. I haven't heard a lot of feedback though. So like you kind of got to wait until people are starting to catch some. Otherwise, it's almost pointless to go.
Right.
But so you got to keep a little, keep an ear out, and make sure that they're actually moving around.
Right. All right. Well, let's talk about the winter flounder. And this is, I love doing topics like this because like the white perch, it's not something that most people are focused in on. And it's various reasons. Maybe they just don't know how, they just never have. A lot of people never grew up fishing for winter flounder. They're smaller than summer flounder and they have less of a, not that summer flounder have a great fight to them, but you get a really large fish and you're in the 2 to 4 pound range, whereas that's not a really large fish. It's a good one for a summer flounder, but you're typically going to find them under 16 inches, so I think that's part of it. But one of the things that I do want to mention to people is if you want to go for winter flounder, now is the time to do it. It's this time of the year because of the spawn. So they're spawning in late winter through spring, which means they're up in the shallower waters. And that's why you want to do it now. They're still around in the summer. It's just they move. As the water heats up, they move to the cooler water, which means they're not as easy to find. So let's start off. What's your tactic that you're going to be using when you head out for the winter flounder?
Unfortunately, the chum log. I think I still have a gross, smelly. They smell disgusting.
Yeah.
Smelly, leaky, crusty chum log still in the freezer from probably 2 seasons ago that I need to get rid of. So the chum log, the dreaded chum log.
Yeah.
At the bait shop, guys pick up 4 at a time and they throw it on the counter, and I'm like, no, for the love of God, because then like the whole shop will smell because it starts leaking. So definitely you have to chum. There's no way around it unless you're going to go when like the guy down the street is chumming too, or split it with some guys at the dock or whatever. But you have to use a chum log if you're at the dock or on a boat or kayak even.
Is there a specific chum that you're using?
It's they make 2 kinds of chum basically, like a bunker chum that's more for like shark fishing or chumming off the boat in the ocean. Yep. The chum that you want to find is the clam chum.
Crushed and
so you chum for a little bit, you get a good chum going on, and then I like to use a little tiny piece of clam and then a little piece of, I pick sandworms because I'm a cheapskate and bloodworms are just too expensive and they're smaller than sandworms. So I just go for the sandworms. They're a good $5 cheaper and they're like 5 times bigger. So I don't know why people still get bloodworms, but I use sandworms, and it doesn't have to be big, right? They have tiny little mouths and they don't need to have a huge chunk of clam. So, I mean, the chum log is a little expensive and the bloodworms or sandworms that you use are a little expensive, but you don't need a lot of it. So it does go, it's that, you can stretch it. I think a lot of people go for tog because green crabs are cheap, or, in the spring you get clams. So a quart of clams is cheap. I mean, nothing's cheap anymore, but, yes, relatively cheap. So I think that's why a lot of people go for tog instead of, winter flounder, because green crabs, you can get $6 for a dozen and spend, a good amount of time fishing for them. But, I guess the sandworms kind of deter people from trying.
Yeah. And so sandworms and bloodworms are probably the top 2 baits that you'd use. Clams, mussels, even grass shrimp are good. And grass shrimp gives you an idea of the size of the bait that you really need. And, for people that haven't caught winter flounder, you really have to understand the difference in the biology between and pretty much any other kind of flounder that you're fishing for, whether it's we have people down in Florida that watch and listen to this. So the Gulf flounder, they have big mouths. The southern flounder, big mouths, and the summer flounder, big mouths, like huge bucket mouths when they open them. These are like little tiny little circles when they open their mouth. Like there's no room. So you're using, what size hook are you using? Using like a 4, 6, or an 8?
There, I honestly couldn't. I mean, I use the ones with the long shank, so I don't even know what they are. They're like smaller than a 1/0.
Yeah,
it's tiny.
Yeah, so somewhere around a number 6 is what I'm going to use, because that's just how small the mouth is. And let's talk about chumming is the strategy, right? I mean, that's the best way to do it. Stirring up the bottom, so on and so forth. What's your tactic? Let's say you're heading out there, you have somebody jumping on the boat with you, they've never done it, and they say, all right, explain to me everything that you're doing and what we're going to do for the first half hour. What are you how are you laying it out for them?
Pack your patience. Winter flounder fishing is really slow fishing, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Some people like fast paced, like blue fishing, but honestly, winter flounder fishing to ease yourself into spring, I think it's something special. But so I would tell them, so we're bottom fishing. We're going to be anchored if you're on a boat or a kayak. So you want to stay near your slick. Honestly, so I fish Shark River or Manasquan River. I'm not too sure about down like near Great Bay or anything like that. I've never fished down there before. But like Manasquan River and Shark River, you kind of have to know some spots where the flounder lay. So they're going to be kind of in packs, and you have to chum so that way it draws them to your area. But there's some that lay, they're in certain spots. So I do, it's like a bottom rig. Honestly, the flounder rigs are the only rigs that I will actually buy. Everything else I just make myself. But I actually buy flounder rigs. So it's like a regular bottom fishing rig. It'll have the weight on the bottom with the trail off the back. And like I said, I do a tiny little piece of clam and both on the same hook, and a tiny little piece of sandworm.
Are you doing the yellow bead?
I was going to say some of them have yellow on it. People use corn. Sometimes they just chuck some corn out. I don't know how true that actually is. I mean, I don't know whether somebody just had corn and just chucked it in their chum, and that's, then they were like, oh, yellow and corn must be good. Some people also use red beads. Every once in a while, like the flounder rigs that are sold have either the yellow bead or the red bead, or they also have like a tiny little soft plastic with like a wiggly tail.
Yeah.
And so you do want some movement because they're not predator fish like fluke are, right? Basically, they're laying on the bottom, and if something tickles their nose, they're going to try to eat it, and they don't like inhale it like fluke do. They kind of just slurp it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's so a couple of key things that you brought up just to kind of flesh it out a little bit for people. So the flounder, they will move according to where, to get to the chum. A lot of people actually use cat food for chum. I do always recommend that you go with the ground clam first. The yellow bead is above the hook, right above the hook. I don't know if it does anything or not, but that's the way I grew up fishing for them. Yeah. So if I have a yellow bead, I'll use it. If not, I don't know that it's going to be a difference maker or not, but I see, in the past, I've done fine with and without. You want to use a very lightweight, but one that's light, the one that's heavy enough that you can stir the bottom with it a little bit. Because again, what these fish are doing is when they move up to that chum, they will kind of bed down in the bottom. So if you're over hard bottom, that's not where they're going to want to go. They're literally the fluke or the flounder that come up into an area and they kind of shimmy and they get the sand on top of themselves and they literally sit under the sand with just their eyes sticking up. And they're not swimming around looking for stuff. As you said, they're waiting for it to hit them on the head. Now, when you chum, they do become a little bit more active. They'll slurp it in. They have that really tiny mouth, which means you're not getting the bite that you think like, you've got to know, you've got to be in contact. That's why I say use the really light weights, something it has to hold bottom, but it has to be light enough that you can still feel something picking it up, because it's often just a pickup, and it's not going to pick it up and run. It's literally going to slurp it in and settle straight back down. So you might get a little bit of weight, but you have to be really in touch with your gear. So light line, light leaders, partially because then you can use a lighter weight. And if you're not getting anything, bounce that weight up and down. It'll give you some movement on your bait, but what it also does is it stirs up the bottom, and they're going to eat the stuff that's getting stirred up.
Definitely. Now, if you wanted to, so, you said somebody that's getting on the boat, maybe that hasn't ever done it before. Honestly, if you want to catch a winter flounder and you've never done it before, I would actually say wait a little bit, go in like June, and get on a party boat that does a bottom fishing trip that specifically does like ling and winter flounder. Because if you go on a bottom fishing boat, they're going to put you or go to specifically winter flounder spots. Yeah. And they'll know if it's been good lately, and they'll put you like right over winter flounder. And some of those fish out there are really big, to the point where one of my biggest ones actually was like the size of a keeper fluke. And I mean, I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. But in the ocean, it's similar fishing than ling. So basically, we would put gulp on the end, just like a gulp mullet, pink, white, chartreuse. Any of those worked really well, and a little piece of clam on top of that. Like basically, always did like a double bait, and the gulp with the tail will tickle the flounder, and they just slurp it right up. So that's another alternative. If you don't have the patience, or sometimes the winter flounder fishing is just slow in the spring. So, if you miss that window in the spring and they've already high-fived the fluke on their way out, then you kind of miss the window, and the next best thing would be to go out in the ocean.
Yeah, at this time of the year, you definitely have the backwater bite going on. As you get later, they're definitely going to start pushing out front. And I would say for those that are actually anyone listening or watching, here's where I'm going to say is kind of like the cutoff line. Look at Atlantic County in New Jersey and north. That's really where you're going to have your best opportunity to get them. You get up closer to the Raritan, you're going to have a much better population in those areas. With that said, I've caught them in Cape May County. I know guys that catch them down in Delaware. Don't know about Virginia, actually. I don't know anyone who's ever tried in Virginia. But these
do they even know they exist?
I doubt it. I doubt anyone would even try down there. But I will tell you though that the further north you go, the easier it's going to be to find them and get a good consistent bite going. So Paul actually put in here winter flounder in Shrewsbury and Navesink in the spring was fire. So those are the areas that you want to look. You can do it down further south, but again, look for the soft bottom, look for the channel edges, and look at it from a slightly different way from how you look at summer flounder. Again, they're not as aggressive, but they're even more ambush predators than fluke. Fluke will actually get up and chase, and they do, nearly every time. It's rare that they just sit on the bottom and they're just gulping stuff that comes by. They're actively going after it. These things want to sit there. So you really have to hone in on where. So if you get a nice soft ledge that goes into a channel, especially from a creek, it's on the downside of that you're going to start finding them stacking up against that, because that's where everything kind of washes off and falls down like a waterfall on top of them. Those are going to be the best opportunity for you. And the one thing that people don't realize, so I've always said, I prefer to fish for fluke, so summer flounder at night. Winter flounder is not a night
Yeah.
fishery at
Yeah.
all. They don't go to sleep like some other species that we all love. They're awake at night, but they are absolutely visual feeders. And with those tiny mouths, they're not burning
Mm.
calories trying to eat at night. They
Yeah.
are daytime and sunny daytime, especially in the spring feeders. So if you have a nice sunny day, you want to pull up into some soft bottom at the edge of some channels in some shallow water, you're going to maximize your chance to get on them as long as
You
you
know,
bring the
I'm
fun.
smiling as you're describing, like, how to find areas, because my two spots that I go to, especially the one, it's right exactly how you described.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's soft bottom. It's on the shallower side because it's kind of to the side of the channel.
Yep.
And yeah, and there's a creek that feeds right out.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
we often overcomplicate fishing, right? They're so smart. No, they're not. They do the same thing. Fish aren't smart. They do the same things, and you know why they do them. They do them to eat. So think about what's going to be the easiest for them. It's like any of us. You want an easy meal. You don't want to, you get home from work. Do you really want to be cooking up the 5-course meal? No. Maybe you do it every once in a while. You put in all that extra effort, but no. You just want to come home. You want to throw the nuggets into the oven, go 20 minutes, throw some hot sauce on it, and sit in front of the TV. And so the closer it is to that, the easier it's going to be to catch these fish. And I'll tell you what, they taste awesome.
Yes. They
I mean,
curl though when you cook them,
they
which
do.
always drove me crazy because, I cook a lot and I'm always like, why won't you lay flat? But they do curl. Not like Fluke doesn't do that. I don't know why Winter Flounder does. It's weird.
I think I don't know. I always just assumed it's because they're so thin comparatively that it just dries really. I mean, it's really easy to overcook winter flounder.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really easy. And you better be good at cleaning because if you're not good at cleaning fish and you always leave meat on it, you're
Oh
you're
yeah.
not
You're
going to
going to
do
have
a ton.
really, really thin fillets.
Yeah, yeah, but they definitely taste, in my opinion, they taste better. Actually, Paul just put this in there. They're much better than Fluke.
Yeah.
I look at them kind of like Tog. So Tog is
Mhm.
actually my favorite,
Yeah.
and the reason I believe is because of what it eats. It's eating clams, it's
Mhm.
eating mussels, it's eating those, crab.
Mhm.
Well, the winter flounder is doing basically the same thing. It's eating those things. It's not eating. Well, they will eat other fish, but they're primarily going to be eating clams and things like that, the softer things that come through. And it's gives you that sweet taste to it. It really light, nice flake to it if you cook it right and you don't, overcook it. But
Mhm.
if people have never had it, it's it's one of those fish that it's worth targeting for the slower day because not only is it an accomplishment when you actually come out with a bunch of them, but you're going to be rewarded at the table because it tastes so much better than a regular fluke. I mean, I don't even think it's close. I don't think. I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't think. Um,
I
water
think
temp.
it's kind of like, it's like if you mix Tog and Fluke meat together, like it's kind of a cross between those two.
Yeah, it's not as good as the tog though.
No, definitely not. And
No,
I think not as good as sea bass either. Um,
I hate sea bass.
what?
I not to eat. I hate catching sea bass.
Oh, I was gonna say, did we just become enemies?
No, no, no. We didn't come. No, we're not enemies. I hate fishing for them because there's so
Okay.
many small ones that it
Yeah.
just annoys the hell out of me. And then
Yeah.
you go through your 70 fish and you can keep 2,
Yes.
you know?
I actually have a beef with the regulations. It like
Oh, so
it
do I.
seems
Yeah.
yeah. It seems like you're just throwing short fish away and they're gonna die. I do try to
Yep.
pop them, but sometimes it doesn't work. So,
Yep.
and whenever I think of the party boats, not so much the regular guys, but the party boats. Oh my gosh. You go on a party boat and bottom fishing for the 2 freaking sea bass because you're going
Mhm.
out ling fishing and you have to stop for the 2 sea bass and how many sea bass have to die for your 2 fish?
Yeah, I can't stand it. I do like when I'm fluke fishing and you hook into like a really big
Yeah.
one or two,
Yep. Yeah.
because they actually have a good fight at that size too. But most
Yeah.
of them are just you, you keep them, and you need like 6 people to keep enough for one person because
Right.
there's not a
Yeah.
lot of meat on those things either. They taste wonderful.
Yes.
So don't get me wrong, they do, but to me it's just they don't taste good enough to go through all that effort and all that the catch that's and it does bother me that that so many are going to
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
And that's been an
Yeah.
argument, for the change in the regs. We could do a whole show on the sea bass
I
regs and how
know.
that's
I
been
think
managed.
did they change? I think they changed it. They upped it or moved it down back a half an inch or something to 12 and a half whatever it was. I don't know. I didn't look at
Yeah,
it yet.
they did make changes. I don't know what they are because again, I won't fish for them. Unless somebody invites me out and I go on their boat and they're fishing for them, I won't complain. I
Yeah.
mean, but I
I'll
just
go
won't
the
make the
first
effort.
few weeks when it opens up in May, and then once they're all cleaned out, I don't go. It's fluke fishing after that.
Yeah.
If you don't go right when it opens, then all the bigger ones are picked off the wrecks, and then it's kind of dumb picking through little ones. Although that's usually when I catch my one cod a year. So
Oh,
that's
really?
one. Yeah, I usually catch about one cod a year. One year I caught two. Once while sea bass fishing and once while fluke fishing, and boy, was that cool.
I haven't
Couldn't
caught a
keep it though.
cod in forever.
I mean,
I could probably count on one hand how many I've caught in my life. I've never
I'm,
targeted them, but
same, but they're still
I
cool.
yeah, I always caught them ling fishing in the fall.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, in
That's
the
when
fall.
in
Okay.
the fall. Yeah, which was a shock. I didn't expect to get them. But I go out striped bass fishing and then it would turn into ling fishing
Yeah.
for later in the day. And then, then you're out of range for the striped bass. So it's gotta be ling. And then all of a sudden you get a cod.
Nice. I've always
Yeah.
caught my cod on gold. So if anybody out there wants to target cod, a gold like jig, even a gold diamond jig, for some reason it was always on gold, which I don't normally go for, but I was given a gold, like, I forget what it was called, a sting with a stinger hook on it. And I was
Yeah.
like, this isn't going to catch anything. And sure enough, that was what I caught a cod on. And then I had used like a regular gold diamond jig and caught cod on that too. So gold is the ticket if you want to catch cod.
Cod is the bait for crabs. And that bothers me too. Fishing for bait. They taste pretty good, but yeah. So all right. So let's kind of sum up the winter flounder. Let's talk about some other stuff that's coming up. And I want to mention I did mention how they're going to move out once the water starts to heat up. They are going to start moving out to deeper water. They will go into the sunny areas in the shallows at this time of the year, but their temperature range is much different than what every other species is. So it's nowhere near a summer flounder. Now you can catch summer flounder right now. You can catch them. But the difference is in the optimal temperature. So the optimal temperature for a winter flounder is going to be somewhere in the in the upper 30s up to around 50 degrees. So when I say warm up, it's not that high, right? Like 50 degrees is not that high. Once you start getting to 50 degrees, 52 degrees, they're going to start moving. So that's where you start moving out offshore, or out, I shouldn't say offshore, out front, out of the inlets. And that's where you're going to start picking them up out there. But you have a really good window in the backwaters until you get a consistent plus 50 degree plus temperature on the water over a couple of weeks. That will trigger them to move out. So otherwise they're spawning, they're in the back, and it's a good opportunity to get them. But if we get a warm up and it's going to shoot those temperatures up, and we got a long way to go now in New Jersey and New York, but if those temperatures spike and you get above 50, it could be an early season for them in the backwaters.
Yeah. It's so funny. So I'll start out in Barnegat Bay, and then, you can tell once they start moving. I'll also get reports that, so they'll go from Barnegat Bay through the canal and then out the river and then out the inlet. So, I'll start in Barnegat Bay, and once that slows down, I'll try the canal while I'm togging. So hopefully, you catch a winter flounder while they're just passing through the canal. And then, once that slows down, go out to the river and try that. And, you can pretty much follow them out. It's so crazy over the course of like a month.
Yeah,
So
and you
follow
can
the
catch them
reports.
from shore too.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and you can
Wait,
chum
like the
from shore.
beach?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say I've never tried that before.
I've never tried from the beach. I don't know that they would hang there very much. Maybe
Yeah,
they would. But sod banks, any docks in the back,
yeah,
you can catch them land-based fishing.
yes, yeah,
And
and probably one of the easier ones to catch land based. I think as long as you know the spots, but I guess that's the
yeah,
hard part.
just stay out of the really heavy flow of the current. They're going to be off to the side of the heavy flows.
Mm,
So if there's a big current coming through and it's broken by something like a dock, get behind that dock in the mod. So if you have extreme current, moderate current, no current, you want to be in the moderate area. You don't want to be in the still water. They're not going to sit in still water because again, they're waiting for food to come by them. If nothing's
yeah.
funneling through, they're not going to be there. Um, but yeah, I would look for that moderate flow. And there is a question in here from Tim. Um, do you ever put corn in the chum? Do you ever do that?
So I just buy my own chum. I don't think they put corn in it. It's the clam chum. It's like $5 a log. Plus, I mean, it really is stinky. And not that I care because I'll be elbows deep at the shop salting clams. That doesn't bother me. But I don't know what they put in those logs. They stink, and it like lingers. It's like no matter how many times you shower, and I'm like, great. People just
Yeah.
think I'm the smelly fish girl. So I've never tried making my own chum. I'm sure there's plenty of recipes out there, and a lot of people do put corn in it. Oats is another thing that they use to make it with. It's chum. They just throw everything in it and hope that the flounder like it, I guess. But a lot of people do. So
Yeah, a lot of people will when they get the store chum, they will throw the chum out and then they'll throw some corn out as well. Keep in mind if you're going to be chumming for them, throw the chum up to the front of the boat and let it drift so it can get down underneath you a little bit more, or make sure you cast out far behind you because once they get to
yeah,
where that chum is actually settling, they're not going to keep moving. They're
right.
just going to
Yeah,
wait because again, they're not aggressive at like a fluke. They're not going to say, "Oh, well, it's 3 feet above, so I'm going to go up further." No, they're just going to sit where it's landing, and they're just going to pick it off there. So you got to kind of be aware of that and give it time. Give it, unlike other species, give it like a half an hour at least for that chum to start working. So that's my advice on it. But I don't know, it's fun. I love winter flounder. They disappeared from Cape May County years ago, and I know that they're coming back from people that have sent me pictures over the past couple of years. Hey, I caught this wildwood. It's like, okay, great. So they are coming back.
that's good.
Um,
Speaking of fish coming back, I've been seeing a lot of weak fish lately.
oh
Big ones.
yes.
The last about 3 years, and it's always been. I've personally caught them while fluking like first 2 weeks, and you can literally see the schools of them boiling in the river. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it before, and they're big. They're well over keeper size.
It's funny. I got an email last night from a viewer. I've never met him, but he just sent me an email and he's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to figure out exactly where you are from your old videos." And he started talking about weak fish. So I just told him, I was like, "Just launch here."
Yeah,
And I gave him 3 spots.
nobody's
Um,
targeting them right now because they've
no,
gone by the wayside, but they definitely are coming back.
they are now to the point where you can target them.
Yeah,
And when you target them, and it's been like this for the past couple of years, you should go into that day not thinking, wouldn't it be nice if? You should be going into that day saying, I can't wait to hook up my first one.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you can target them, you can spend the day out there, you can catch a whole bunch of them. And there are some really nice ones. I've caught, I didn't fish a lot last year, but I caught several weak fish, and they weren't monsters. I was fluke fishing, so they were kind of a bycatch. But they were in the mid 20s in size, which
Yeah,
isn't bad. It's not
yeah,
the
there's
old school tide runners, but
definitely
um,
nice fish out there right now, or
yeah,
coming up, I should say.
yeah. And I let them go, but luckily I didn't. destroy them.
Right. Yeah.
But
I let the ones go too, but you got to be careful with netting them and all that. They have such soft mouths that, if their jaws were ripped off, I would have kept it, but it was fine swimming away. So
yeah, you know what? You mentioned the soft jaw. That is let's go back to the winter flounder. Set it like a weak fish. They have very
yeah,
soft.
yeah,
They've got
you'll
a
rip it right
soft
out of their
base.
mouths. Yeah, you
You,
can't
you
set
are
it.
your set is a lift. I mean,
Yep.
that's it. A lift and maybe a twitch, but otherwise you're going to tear it straight through their lips and you're going to ruin the fish's face. But you're also not going to end up hooking that thing. You got to be like really sensitive on these fish. And it's a great reason to scale down your tackle. You can use freshwater gear for them as long
True.
as it has enough backbone for the weight that you need to get down in the current that you're going to be in. So if you're using 6 to 8 pound test, you're good. So put that on a bass rod and you're going to be probably perfect with a nice light tip on it. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that because you will destroy a winter flounder. You're not going to bring it up if you treat it like a fluke. It does not have that jaw that you need to penetrate. If you cross it, you're never going to cross its eyes. It'll just rip straight through. Yeah, just thought that's worth mentioning.
True.
Yeah, I have a known issue with oversetting, and it was no different from when I used to go winter flounder fishing. My brother's in the chat. I don't know if he remembers or not. He was pretty little at the time. But yeah, that was an issue. My grandfather used to yell at me. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like ripping it straight through. Yeah.
It's like going, trout opens in April and so does tog. And I usually end up going tog fishing first. And then I'll be like, oh, let me try trout. And then meanwhile, I'm on the bank ripping the rooster tail out of the freaking thing's mouth and it's launching it across I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Because you're so used to setting the hook on a tog and then you go trout fishing, forget it.
I'm getting ready for trout. I'm
comical.
I'm excited for trout to start because there's so many trout streams around me. The problem is they're all stocked, and I hate like the rush, like opening day. You can't even go.
Oh yeah, no, I don't go opening day.
It's absolutely bananas. But I love watching the stocking videos, and they're just shooting those trout, and all of a sudden you see like a big palomino come out. And you're like, oh, that would be cool. But that's going to get caught in the first 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, because it's like it's literally like fish in a barrel, right?
Yeah.
The banks are lined up with it's these old timers. They've done it how many years? But do you have natural trout in Pennsylvania? Like where I am, there's no natural trout, so the only trout that I catch would be a stock trout, unless I go up north at like Flatbrook area.
I would say where I am let's just call it in Montgomery County, there's not a lot, if any. I mean, I just consider them all stocked, although I know that these streams and the creeks and the rivers can support native trout.
Okay.
Right? There's just not a lot of them. Where I went to school up in Bloomsburg, we used to just go for natives. And, they're typically smaller, but 150,000 times harder to catch.
Yeah.
And we go camping for like a week, just trying to each get one. And
wow.
It was incredible. It might have just been because we were too drunk and too bad at fishing, that we didn't catch that many. But you can get really nice natives in some of the more remote areas. But around here, I could be wrong. I consider them all to be stocked.
Yeah.
And they probably are. And anything that's in there right now is a holdover that just escaped last season. So that's kind of the way that I categorize it here. But with that said, I'm still looking forward to going trout fishing. I haven't been able to get out. I hurt my back and it's getting better now.
Okay,
I mean, I can walk around and I can do normal things for a certain period of time, but what scares me is walking down the creek banks. And then walking in the water, like, all I'm going to have to do is twist wrong. And then I'm out for all the fluke season. So I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah. So, all right. So you got trout coming up. You're going to do that. Obviously tog, because that's like your thing. So tog fishing, you'll do the striped bass at night.
I wanted to get out earlier, but honestly, it was slow anyway. I think it's starting to heat up. So, and now
Yeah.
that I have some time coming up, I'm definitely planning a few night trips.
All right.
The
Well, let's
local
talk
one.
about the fishing club.
Okay.
Yeah, for those that are
So,
not aware, like fill them in on this. I just think it's awesome that you do this.
oh, thanks. So I'm a teacher. A lot of people don't know that. I teach middle school, and actually, I should mention this. My students actually hate AI. I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay.
They literally hate it. They're like, it's so dumb. We can tell that it's AI. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't use AI in any of my lessons except to like show them good ways to use it and bad ways to use it. But anyway, so I teach middle school, and I started a fishing club at the school. And, I live in a very beachy town, or fishy town, I should say. There's the beach too. So I have a lot of land-based spots to fish. And so, we're going to start out with tog fishing. Our break is coming up, so it'll be about mid-April. That's when it starts to really heat up anyway. And it's so funny because I always start them out tog fishing, which probably sounds like totally counterproductive. But most people kind of know where I fish, and they know that it's pretty easy to catch tog there.
Yeah.
And so the kids get hooked right away. And they're like, this is amazing. They don't care if it's a keeper or not. Plus with Tog, they're fighting hard, and
Yeah.
they're just so proud of catching anything really. I try to show them how to unhook the fish themselves, and if they can't do it, obviously I help them. We talk about stewardship. Some fish like Tog, they're slow growing fish, so really consider if you want to keep it or not, if it's a keeper, stuff like that. So we're going to start out with tog fishing. And then once that ends at the end of April, I'll move on to hopefully bluefish run through sometime in May and June. But,
Yeah.
until the bluefish start running, I'll do fluke fishing. But with fluke fishing, land-based is not as easy as the tog. And so they get frustrated.
Right.
It's almost rare for them to catch anything while we're fluke fishing. There's a lot more to it with the jigging. I have to start lending out my rods because a lot of them don't have the right equipment. And casting, they're casting now. It's not just drop and reel.
Right.
So I got to show them how to cast. But it's really cool when they finally catch a fish. They want all the pictures, and can you send it to my mom? And
Right.
it's really awesome. And they're 13-year-old kids, and they just love it. And then I usually end with our last one is usually on Dog Beach in Manasquan.
Yeah.
So we'll try to do like I said, hopefully bluefish, although I'm not too jazzed about 13-year-olds and bluefish, but
Yeah.
it's
There's
exciting
some
for them.
concerns there.
Yeah. I obviously teach them about the anatomy of the fish. With tog, I tell them about their little lips and teeth. With fluke, I tell them about their teeth. Every once in a while they'll catch like a tiny little sea bass, while we're togging, and they get all excited because they're like, what's this? So
Yeah.
I tell them, this fish, you can actually put your finger in their mouth.
Yeah.
So it's really cool because I get to teach and fish at the same time, and it's just an awesome thing. And
I love
actually,
that you do that. I absolutely love it. Let me ask you this. So let me set it up. So I am secretary for a nonprofit that donates fishing gear to kayak fishermen, but it's
okay.
to kids and people with disabilities and veterans. If you have any kids in your club that would like to be kayak fishing and they need supplies like we'll send out PFDs.
Okay.
So they'll get their life jacket. We'll send them hooks, gear. Sometimes we'll send them we don't send the rods because it's too expensive to mail them,
Yeah.
but we will give them reels
Okay.
and help get them started. So if you have any kids in the club that want to be kayak fishermen,
I have
it-
one in mind. Came right to mind when you said that.
so I will send to you the information that they can apply to get quote unquote sponsored by the nonprofit. But we're always looking for kids. It's always adults that want all the free stuff, and a lot of them, I mean, great, they, disabled veterans, and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, check this out, and they're like, where's your leg? They're like, yeah, I don't have a leg, makes it difficult for my pedal kayak, but here's what I did. It's
Oh
like,
my
yeah, we'll
God.
we'll send you some stuff, help you get on the water.
Wow.
But the kids, it's just something cool when, that's why I love the fact that you're doing it,
Oh, thanks.
because it's the kids that really matter,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
for the
Um,
future of fishing.
it's
So
so funny because people are always like, I do a lot for the school that I'm at, and people are always like, you're doing too much. I'm like, you don't understand. I like this.
yeah, yeah.
I coach volleyball too. I like it.
Wait, are you
So,
tall enough to play volleyball?
oh, probably not. I'm 5'4", so I wish I was taller, but no.
All of us wish we were taller.
I know, right?
All right. Well, yeah, I wanted to mention, I wanted you to mention that because I think that you deserve some credit for starting the fishing club. It's not like you just said, "Oh, yeah, I'll help out with it." You're like, "You know what? We need a fishing club."
Yeah, I
And
mean,
just the stories.
I had a group of parents that like knew me from the shop. I was working at the school, and then just by chance, some of them came into the shop, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" They get all excited, and they're like, "You should start a fishing club." And I'm like, how much time I'll have? I mean, I would like to, but
Yeah.
and so they were like, "No, we're gonna do it." So my first year doing it was 3 years ago, and I had some helpers, except that like those, because they're eighth graders, those kids' parents graduated, so now I'm like, I don't have help, so I'm
Right.
running around like a nut job trying to unhook fish or retie stuff. Nobody has the right stuff that they brought. I got to use
Mhm.
my own crap, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we need sinkers.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of running around, but it's extremely rewarding when you see a kid. So,
Oh, yeah, and they're never gonna forget that you're the one who got them into it. They're never
well,
gonna forget that.
the other part of it is I'm always trying to get the girls to fish,
Yeah.
because obviously it's, the boys are interested, but, I'm like, girls, we can do this, and actually quite a few girls started doing it too, which makes me so happy. And it's so funny because sometimes I'll talk about, you know, how differently sometimes I'm treated in the fishing world. A lot
Uh-huh.
of people, I guess, think that I'm like some giggly bimbo, which I get it. Based on appearance, I suppose I probably do look like I don't have much thoughts behind my eyes.
I wouldn't say
But
that.
um, well, I've gotten some feedback, and a lot of people are like, when I first followed you or when I first met you, I thought you were going to be some like, blonde bimbo, but you're actually like really cool. And I'm like, well, thank you, but maybe next time don't judge somebody based on how they look.
Yeah.
But so, I get that a lot at the shop that I work at. Men will literally refuse my help because they think
Mhm.
that I don't know anything about fishing. And when I tell the kids, because sometimes we'll talk about it, it'll come up in class or conversation, and they're like, "That is so dumb." And I'm like, "I'm glad you guys think that." And it's the boys that say it. They're like, "That's dumb. Girls can fish." And I'm like, "We're the kids will be all right. So we're
Yeah.
on the right track here."
Yeah,
But
well, and not only that, but at the age of the kids that you have in the club, the girls are probably gonna start off faster than the boys because the girls focus typically. I know it's a generalization, but, yeah, my background was in education, and if you don't think there's a difference between
mm,
who's gonna listen and who's gonna
yeah,
learn quicker,
yeah,
the girls are at that age. They're
yes.
gonna learn quicker. Yeah, I
You
don't
can,
get it. I wish I could say that the whole women in fishing thing is just BS, but I've actually seen it, and I've had a lot of people. You're not included in this, but I've had female guests where people have like sent me stuff, just be like, "What are you bringing her on for? She doesn't." And I'm like, "Shut the hell up! Like, I know you, so why are you telling me that she doesn't know what she's doing when I know she could outfish both of us? Like, what the hell's wrong with you?" But the other thing is, I kind of get some of the stereotype because just look on Instagram
I
and
know.
94% unscientific measurement, 94% of the female anglers are only there for their bikinis.
Yes.
They're holding up fish that are not impressive. I see Tad in the chat. If Tad was holding up the same fish, you'd say, great fish, no big deal. But it becomes like this epic 4,000 like and comment
I
posts.
know
So
it's
I
frustrating.
see that, but people, those are not the people that are on the party boats with you. People on the party boats are actual fishermen, fisherwomen. Like, get the hell over yourselves. And I have seen it in person. I have seen it. So, yeah, stick it to them. That's what I say.
Honestly, though, it gets to the point, and I'm sure you've noticed how much I've slowed down with social media.
Yes.
I just want to fish at this point. Like, I just want to catch a fish.
I hear
A
you.
lot of people do, the other thing is now, and I'm like worried about this, and I don't know why, because I really don't care what people think of me too much. But there's like accounts that people have made to make fun of other anglers. Like,
I know.
I
Yeah,
can't
and I know
remember off
some of
the
the
top
people
of my
behind it.
Well, I'm
Some of them
sorry?
you can't. Some of them you can't even say the name. I know some of the people behind
Yes.
some of them in New Jersey.
Do you?
And
I'm dying to know, and I want to know: do these people have a life or like go fishing at all? Because
yes, and the ones that I'm thinking about, they do, and they're actually decent fishermen.
really, why do that then? It
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
but the thing is, they get very jealous very quickly for no reason.
Okay.
And they do have an inflated view of themselves. And they are also, I will tell you in person sometime when it's not between us and everybody, because the people will figure things out, and I'm not outing anybody.
Okay.
But the hypocrisy of the things that they complain about is ungodly. It's like, if you would just point out to them, wait, you're complaining about this, but do you remember when you did that?
Mhm.
And what you did was 1,000 times worse than what this other person did. Think about spot burning. I can't believe you see it. I can't believe it comes on this pathetic little account making fun of somebody. Spot burn. It's like, I will tell you specifically.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks later, not only is it a spot burn, but it's the same exact spot, and it's magnified by 100. This is no exaggeration. 100,000 in reach. It's like, maybe you should get over yourself and just give people a little bit of grace, let them do their fishing, and stop acting like that. But I see it. I delete a lot of comments for other people. People don't typically get on me, but I'm a nobody in fishing, so I'm not a target for really many people.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how, you want to be somebody, but then again, I'm like, nah. No, I don't need that. I don't need that.
No, I just want to fish. I want to be, I want to be a part of some and do something like this, which, look, it's a small audience, but people connect in
It's a
the audience.
community, though.
Yeah, they go out and they go fishing with each other. So it's like, great. Like, I'm actually doing some benefit for other people. And I think you can at least find a few minutes of entertainment in these streams, right? And some information, and you should learn something. And if you don't, well, you got to sit back and listen to a couple of people talk fishing on a Monday night. Yes. So it's better than watching the Phillies, who were losing 4-0 when I came up to the office to do this. So instead of watching that Taiwan Walker breakdown, you can watch a couple of people talk about fishing and maybe a species that you haven't targeted yet that could really enhance your annual calendar for fishing if you add them in, and that's the winter flounder. So maybe that's where we can bring it full circle and stick a pin in this one.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. It's going to be difficult for the next 2 weeks for me, coordinating some guests. We're trying to do some acrobatics with one guest in particular who would like to come on. So I don't have anyone locked down for next week, people, but I'm going to do my best to have something put together, or maybe I'll do a solo episode. Elle, thank you very much for coming on.
Anytime.
Make sure you post some winter flounder pics so that I can put them out and change the thumbnail so that people can stop getting on me about that one. And
I'm hoping.
I I want to see some winter flounder.
Okay.
I want to live vicariously through you, because I'm not going to hit them until probably late May, early June, and by that time, I have a feeling they're going to be out front, and I'm not going out
Yeah.
front in my kayak.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say definitely by the end of May.
All right. I'll be looking forward to it. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. I'll try to be back next week. Through all this wind coming up and all this rain, there's got to be little windows for you. So when you can, get out there, get on the water, and get some tight lines.